Mexican records got the lights down low. Souldisco where the groovy people go. Hit play, let the music flow. Old school beats with a modern glow.
Hello everybody and a very warm welcome back to the latest episode of Hidden Jewels of Soul and Disco. I do hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. In this week's episode we are featuring the absolutely fantastic, fabulous Fontella bass. Why Fontella had to fight her whole lifetime unsuccessfully to gain songwriter credits for her biggest hit, well, we'll discuss this. Fontella was born in 1940 in St. Louis, Missouri, and she was the daughter of famous gospel singer Martha Bass, who was also a member of the Clara Ward Singers. When she was 5 years old, she appeared on her grandmother's funeral, playing the piano and singing. With 9 years, she followed her mother around the United States to be on tour with the gospel group. In her teenage years, she became part of the Leon Claxton Carnival show, which was an absolutely famous show where everybody could go to have a good time, being entertained. You have to consider that back in those days, an African-American person just couldn't walk into a club or a variety show and watch the show and enjoy the show. No way. They had to have their separate shows. And Leon's show was an absolutely milestone and became hugely successful. So Fontella got a job to play there for 2 weeks, and Leon offered her, after her stint, to become a regular on the show and tour America. And Fontella jumped to that chance. She loved it. So she packed her things, went to the train station, and what happened was that her mother actually dragged her out of the train and saying, "Young girl, there is no way that you are touring America with a couple of strangers." So that idea was very much dropped, and Fontella continued to do shows in her region. Bob Lyons, who was a manager of the St. Louis radio station KATZ, heard Fontella, and he made it possible for her to get a record contract with Bobbin Records. So these were her first recordings. And she was produced by no other than Ike Turner. And he released a couple of singles from her on Sonia and Print Records. And there's one single, Poor Little Fool, which also features Tina Turner on backing vocals. These singles led to absolutely nowhere. So she moved on. She actually moved to Chicago and auditioned for the legendary Chess label. While she was in the office singing, she was immediately signed, like on the spot, to get a contract with Checker Records, which was a sub-label of Chess. And she was also teamed up with her former duet partner, Bobby McClue. When they were on review shoes, these guys were already singing together, and now they were recording together. And this was quite successful. So the pair released, for example, Don't Mess Up a Good Thing. So they released a couple of singles and went on tour. And in 1965, Fontella got back from a brief tour, went into the rehearsing studio of Checker Records, and was playing around a little bit. And also present that Saturday afternoon were Carl Smith, who was a songwriter, Reinhard Miner, who was also a songwriter, Billy Davis, a producer, Minnie Riperton, Maurice White, and Louis Satterfield. Well, the later ons became Earth, Wind, and Fire. Well, Minnie Riperton made a highly successful career herself in the 70s, and she unfortunately also passed away in the late 70s. But what happened that afternoon was that they created one of the biggest hits jazz record has ever seen. And the result of this session was Rescue Me. It was actually the biggest single for jazz during the last 10 years. This record became an international smash hit and was sold millions of copies. Fontella had one issue with that. She helped writing that song, so the lyrical part of it. But she never, ever got the songwriting credits for it. Not on the single. She was told when the single was released, well, we add that later on in the paperwork. Also, this was never added to the paperwork. And her whole lifetime, she unsuccessfully fought for her rights to be named as a songwriter. Also, what happened was that her mother, Martha West, released in 1968 a gospel album, which was also called Rescue Me. Fontella continued to release music on jazz, but she was very unhappy with the situation. Also, her follow-up singles could never really compete to the success of Rescue Me. But there's also a little fun fact about the song Rescue Me, which I want to point out. During the last part of the song, you hear kind of moaning, a forth and back moaning between the backing vocals and Fontella's main vocals. Well, the reason for this was she did the song in 3 takes. And during that time when you were recording, it was very difficult to stop the tape in the middle while running and then change the mood and everything. So they kept continue recording. And for the final take, Fontella at the end forgot the lyrics. And she remembered from her gospel experience, just do a little moaning if you forget the words. And that worked perfectly out with the backing vocals. So they had a little forth and back. I would highly suggest, we have a brief listen to that short part of Rescue Me.
Can't you see that I'm lonely? Rescue me, rescue me.
I just love that song, and I wish I could have played the full version for you guys, but I'm pretty sure you know where to find it. Like I said, Fontella got more and more frustrated with the situation, that she was not acknowledged as a songwriter for her biggest hit, and also her follow-up singles didn't do so well next to her debut album. So she left Checker Records in the late 60s and moved with her husband to Paris, and there she released 2 albums with the Art Ensemble of Chicago with Fontella bass and Les Strantz's A Sophie, and they were both released in 1970. She got back to the United States, and in 1972 she released her second album, and here it is in all of its 70s glories, Fontella Bass Free. Actually, this record was released in 1971, a year earlier in France, and was titled I Need to Be Loved, and it has also a different cover art. This album by Fontella is so highly overlooked, and it has such a nice flow between soul and gospel music. Also, if you want to have an original copy of this record, it's between 25 to 50 euros or dollars, once again, depending on the condition, but it's out there. There are also reissues available. And also in the beginning of this video, you heard some snippets of this record. This record did absolutely nothing for Fontella. It was actually a huge flop. And this leads us once again back to Rescue Me. She very openly fought for her songwriting credits and was known in the business to say, hey, I did this work, I deserve at least a tiny little piece of that cake because I contributed to the success of that record. That was very well known in the business, and so she was kind of known or thought to be known as being a troublemaker, being difficult, and that might have caused her to miss opportunities in the music business. So 1972, the story, her history was following her around. At least she had the opportunity to record a second album. It was a huge flop, and Fontella decided to step back from the music business and raise a family. In 1980, she appeared on Boys, The Great Pretender in 1981, and All the Magic in 1982. In 1989, she, had a very bad time in her life. And suddenly, when she was watching an American Express ad, she was very irritated to hear her own vocals. American Express played an advertisement with Rescue Me. And she was like, wow. And that lifted her so much up that she said, you know what, I'm going back into doing music again. Next to the fact that she, had a court appointment with American Express where she sued them about the rights using her song, her voice on that ad. She got $50,000, and that led her for a new start. So she started to record gospel records, went on tour again, but in the early 2000s, her health was getting more and more an issue. She got cancer, she survived that cancer, she also got an amputation, and those times her health was difficult. And in 2012, she passed away after a heart attack. The legacy she left behind is absolutely tremendously. And I can highly suggest, next to her big success, Rescue Me, also check out all the other materials she recorded. She had an absolutely fantastic voice. If you like that episode, I would highly suggest that you check out the playlist, which is appearing up here. I catch you on the next one. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and listen to good music.